check out this car. Let's see if I can find where the boost leak is, because my daughter's still getting some issues with the car. Besides the blatantly obvious failed battery. This is the boost charge pipe after the intercooler. This is where I mended it before. It blew out right here, so I actually cut it and put this piece of metal pipe in there and just put these two clamps. Stuff I had from before, you know, for my turbocharging projects. But of course, this is a factory turbocharged car. Looking right there, I believe I see a new split before I even get this hose off. Look at that. That's probably where it's flowing out. So, out in the back 40, where I have a tote with some old spare parts from previous projects. There's a nice little turbo. It was on that Saturn. There's the turbo. It was only a T3 flange. That was on that Mustang. There's a 3-inch outlet there. Here's the wastegate, the external wastegate. Oh, there's a section of... Oh, this might have been the aftermarket. That's airflow sensor. No, that was a stalker. Somewhere here's the aftermarket one. It started melting from getting it so hot. What was this one? Yeah, this is a $300 sensor right here. Pro M. Still good. Who knows, might work on that Ranger. Fuel pump, that was a high pressure fuel pump down there. It's been sitting for years now, huh? There's the blow off valve. It was on that 3-inch pipe there. We got a converter that's it's not hollowed out, it's a real this is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to see what hose connections. Oh, this is on intake. That was an air straightener I put on there. Air straighteners, after you come out of a turn like this, I kind of like that because I would put laminar flow or whatever they call it across the mass airflow sensor, get you a bracket reading. So I'm trying to see. I've had rubber hoses. Just wondering if I had any of that size and any decent lengths. No, that's massive. That's 3-inch. It is not 3-inch that I got on that. There's another one down here. Yeah, it's all. These are all too big. And there's more cats. These are high flow cats? Yeah, I think those are the high flow cats. So this is the section I'm trying to reproduce. It's just it's been a relatively reliable car because I beat the hell out of it when I used to drive it, and then the wife drove it, and it was sitting for a year, and then the girl's daughter drove it as her first car. She was racing it and beating the hell on it too. But it's just got so much. There's so many hoses, valves, electronic valves, sensors, everything on these. 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine, and it's a front-wheel drive. 4-cylinder EcoBoost in that too, but it's rear-wheel drive, 2.3 liter. So, I don't know. Now I have a twin-turbo straight 6 in that truck. Glutton for punishment. We have 4 turbocharged vehicles in this household now. The wife's vehicle, the daughter's vehicle, the hand-me-down, the F-150 I used to have, but now this Rebel, all turbocharged, and then the Can-Am in the backyard, turbocharged. Crazy, but turbos are fun. And people get mad, say, you know, they'll take their V8 over it every day. You know, if I'll take a V8 over that, I'm gonna have to modify the V8 to have power like these have. They just don't. Just like this replaced a mid-sized V6. The 0 to 40 mile an hour range, you know, for the get-go, this turbo 1.6 had an advantage over the V6 counterpart that would have been in a car like this. This is quicker. Once you're already rolling up to highway speeds, it's not. But from the get-go, the torque is so quick on small turbo engines. I mean, engines with small turbos, that's just a great advantage. So, the inline 3-liter in that thing has 2 turbos, one in each 3 cylinders. And I think it's pretty close to 500 foot-pounds of torque, so it's pretty nuts. Those 33-inch tires, it's from like 25, if I hit it, it spins them. So it's pretty crazy. So in order to replace this section, you can use a piece of this for 2 1/4, piece of this for 2-inch. It's a bigger pain in the ass than I expected it to be. So here's this part that had the previous patch in it. So you got this reducing down to the bell, and that's on here, and a shitty weld right here when I had to change the angle. I'm going to go up to this cheap coupler here, but it should be okay. Hopefully get that on the intercooler and get that installed. And a good shot of this without the tubing in there. There's the intercooler output. And it goes the front up there to the throttle body. That's what that mess is. Well, hopefully this rigment works. Don't see why not. So that is a bitch to get to that last nut up there. Back in there, you have to go up through here. Because I expect you to take the whole front end of the car off to get to that. That sucks. Got the laptop hooked up. FORscan. I'm going to kind of monitor, especially the transmission temperature. So we put that battery in, and then last night it quit on her again. Of course, I go out there with the trailer to go get it, and of course it starts right up and pulls up on the trailer fine. But I did notice after we worked on it the other day that there's a major boost leak, which I just fixed, I think. And just that could be really messing with it. One thing that's weird is the what was that, like the boost pressure at sensor or whatever, that second from the top right, it's reading like 14.1 at idle. It should be reading like inches of vacuum. And then when I get into it, it goes right to like 30 something. That might be an invalid reading. Which would make it open the wastegate, you know, or control the wastegate based on that. That thing's whacked. Evidently, this is not your real-time pressure at that sensor. I think it's like what it had recorded for boost, because this is like the desired boost, and when this increases, this seemed to track with it. So maybe this is just like the minimum it usually asks for. I don't know, but it just seems to not go lower than that. So down here is map, so it should be really the one to look at. I guess it doesn't read inches, even though that probably is. Let me see if I give it a little bit of throttle, if it goes down or up. Yeah, tipped over instantly, but who knows? I'll have to keep track of that one. So I'm still watching, like, the transmission's just getting up to operating temperature. So anything up to like 220 or so, even 230 can be relatively normal. Once you start getting like 240, 250, then you gotta start watching out. So she said her car hasn't overheated or anything like that. So it looks like the coolant temperature is at 210. Okay, been cruising a little bit. Transmission temperature's pretty much been with the coolant temperature got up to 212, but actually when I turned the corner back there, I just heard the whining sound the daughter is talking about. And the other day when we restarted to pull up on the trailer, I did hear a little bit of whining. It sounded like it was coming from the transmission area, which is why we checked the fluid. Okay, here we go. I'm going to turn this corner. Listen to this. It's very noticeable. First time I've gotten to do it when you're driving. After all first three gears, temperature's still not like nuclear. Temperature's totally normal. Weird. That is a weird sound. It's not coming from the front section where the timing belt or anything is, which would be intermittent. It's coming from the transmission side. Let me listen to it real quick. In neutral. See if it's... Oh yeah. Huh. It's idling okay. So I'm wondering, yeah, if the transmission actually does something weird. Who knows? 220. It's not bad. Depends on where that sensor is too, though. Yeah, it does sound horrible. So I'm trying to get it to act up. And I think I'm probably getting close, because she said it starts making that whine sound. But then she said it would like act up like she stop and go traffic, and then like it shut off, or she couldn't go for a second, or she turned off and restarted, and then she was able to pull off the road. Now imagine, she probably wasn't doing all this once it's acting up. She's probably just driving it normal. Notice that the transmission fluid's starting to creep higher than the coolant. 231. Coolant just dropped to 187. Keep an eye on it. Temperature keeps going up and down. Pretty much in the normal range. Still got that whine. Still got a surge. Barely touching the throttle and feeling it just vary the power. It's kind of weird. Sometimes I think it's almost putting more power than I want. Oh yeah. Wastegate messed up? I don't know. I'm just barely touching it. It just seems like it should be a little slower. I'm not in sport mode. Well, driven around for like 45 freaking minutes. Transmission temperature never went over 230. So added tons of points for it to check. I don't know, man. It definitely has a surge though. Unless it's still leaking turbo boost somewhere, it's just not making the pronounced hiss that I was hearing before. It's probably got more than one leak. Who knows? Okay. Looking here, this is FORscan. I have it installed on my main PC, which I'm not using to connect to the vehicle, but it allows me to kind of look back at the logs. So like here is one I did the other day. The oscilloscope's the nice one, but I haven't figured out how to look at all the values. Seems like only the top ones and everything you selected to record is going to be in there. So there's throttle position and an accelerator position. Now these are two key ones to look at here. Transmission slip ratio, fluid, all this stuff, wastegate, a bunch of different things I was looking at in different logs to kind of figure out what's going on. Basically I started getting some clues at one point. So oscilloscope only goes down to the fuel rail pressure, which is just right here. Now when you play this back, it'll populate, and it goes in seconds. It doesn't go in time, it goes in seconds from start to stop. So this is only 118 seconds. I did a couple short ones, so this is I got on Grand Avenue, so I could kind of go up the way and see kind of what was going on. So right here we're going to see some stuff. So this is applied like the foot pedal, and this is the throttle blade, the actual motor driven throttle blade following it. Right here it does the same, it follows. But look at this, when I get into the throttle and it builds boost, what's going on right here? This is the throttle blade going open close, open close. Doesn't let me kind of drag this, but I could kind of get in there. See that I was like at 66 seconds. I wish I could just kind of jump that right in there, but I can't. You kind of see these are pretty much tracking. And there's the desired boost pressure and the boost pressure. I still haven't figured out why these never go to 0 or to a vacuum. It just kind of drops down to 14 or something like that when you're off the throttle. Like right there. Like, so, oh. See, this is what happens when you're doing things and you're, I'm narrating my videos. Sometimes I find out the answers because I'm narrating them to talk to somebody else. This is not relative pressure, this is absolute. That would make sense. So when this thing gets up to 30 psi, it wasn't 30 psi of boost above, relative, above atmospheric. It's actually like 30 psi absolute pressure, which is like 14.5 above, our atmospheric pressure. So that's pretty interesting. I just realized that's what that is. Now these numbers are making sense to me. All this time, the last couple of weeks, I kind of always thought maybe the sensor wasn't zeroing out, but surely it would have a fault, and it doesn't. So about 60 seconds, so here's applied, here's the throttle blade. Watch this thing. I mean, it just starts off floor at some point. There you go. Accelerator pedal position is like maxed. Throttle position is going to go up and down. Also trying to keep my fuel pressure desired and actual is right there, 2100 psi. It's a direct injected. And desired is 30, and look at this, measured is 35. So it got like 20 psi almost over atmospheric right there. So can you see here? We go see it's kind of going all over the place, which either thing could like throw it off. All right, where was I before I got that phone call? So basically, a couple of these things could affect each other. So it could be backing off the throttle because it's going over boost, or the boost pressure is going to go up and down as the throttle blade's moving when it's not supposed to be, or something else is causing it to do that. So yeah, so both of these things, the desired boost and the measured boost, are varying, and the throttle position is varying, even though my foot is left on the pedal. Yep, so that's all whack. Look at that. And then that's what I let off for that time, which is probably about right here. 78 seconds. Yep. And right here you can see I kind of get into it again. Let's see, short drive, no boost. So I think this is after that one. So on grand with boost is 11:41. Oh, I was unplugging and plugging in the electrical plug to the boost controller, which actually was pretty interesting. BC, what was that? Unplugged. How long was that one? Yep, and we gotta kind of do this to see everything. And look at this. Every time I got in the throttle, and this was 174 seconds, so that 60, so 3 minutes. So whenever I get in the throttle, this just tracked it each time. And I didn't notice any of that other nonsense. Let's go to another one. I think I have another one with the boost. What was that one? Boost control. Unplugged again. This is probably a longer one. This is 132 seconds. But each time, you know, I hit the throttle, the look at that, the throttle blade just follows it. I know I had a longer one. I actually drove it around a little longer. So, is that one I already did? That's the one I think I already showed you. But it kind of, no, it's 240 seconds. Yeah, so that one's a little longer. It kind of tracked it. I think I changed up my log too a little bit here, so I moved everything around a little bit. But RPMs, oh yeah, the RPMs also go up and down just slightly when it was wigging out before. So that's basically what we had going on there. So I got my daughter's Ford Escape and fixed another patch down there on the charge pipe to the throttle body. I drained the fluid and topped it back off again, so that's 2 times we've done it last week or so, hoping that the torque converter will stop whining, because it still goes through all 6 gears and it doesn't slip, not anytime I'm driving it, but now it's got a weird surge. So when I'm accelerating, it's you can feel it surging. I thought maybe that's the torque converter, and I was about to give up on this car, pulling the transmission and everything, but then kind of got looking at it a little more through FORscan on, and I'm trying to make sense of some of the data logs. And I just did a couple little runs up Grand Avenue, and I forgot to turn on the ones for individual cylinder acceleration. That could be a good clue if one of them's dropping out, maybe under compression or something weird. Don't have any fault codes or anything, so kind of weird. So many sensor values to look at, and sometimes you load the wrong ones, and it's just not very clear. Boost, wastegate position, something is making it like starts accelerating and it loses acceleration. It's like a surge. You can feel it pulling and it's not pulling, and just like a surge as it's accelerating. I get on the higher speeds where I'm getting up to 50, 60, 70, where I could stay into the throttle, like going up long stretch of Grand Avenue, and it actually, you know, like almost doesn't accelerate. It's like it actually kind of like you're floored, but yet it's kind of like meeting a wall, and you can feel it pulsing with the power. It's weird. So I just got done pulling spark plugs before I go do another run. I thought, well, you know, I don't think I've ever done these. Maybe I have, but it was a long time ago. But it's a bunch of gobbledygook down here at the base, but which is normal for the O-rings and seals in there over time. But all the electrodes just look well seasoned. But maybe I should go get some spark plugs and just replace them and take it for another drive. Okay, just picked up some Motorcraft. Will look a little better than these. Again, those were not like fouled or anything, but you never know. You could have cracked insulators, anything like that, or it could be blowing out the spark under high boost. Okay, there's what they all look like. A lot of the grease up here is just from threading them back in. Plug the holes while I went to buy some new ones. Porcelain and the conductors are what counts. This grease also I've got on from removing and installing. Doing another repair on the daughter's car. Maybe I'll show some. On the screen here, did some data logging driving down the road using FORscan. And some things I noticed was that we get the surge going up and down, and RPMs kind of go up and down about 100 or 200 at a time, every half a second or so. You notice that the electronic throttle blade down here, throttle body with electronic throttle actuated blade, is being commanded to open and shut every half a second. Meanwhile, the throttle pedal is showing consistently held open. So, I think it was overshooting its boost. When I saw on the internet, these Wastegate control solenoids fail like regularly, to where you're supposed to be, I guess you're supposed to go through a couple of them in the life of your vehicle. So 100 and something thousand miles, and we've never changed it, so I'm hoping this is going to be that, because I did mend a hose right here. So I'm hoping that there is no more leaks, and it does seem like it initially builds up the boost, and I don't hear it sound like it's leaking there, but I can see this, the fluctuations of the pedal, which also I think it then, you have the blow-off valve, which is an internal blow-off. I think it's actuating back and forth too, because it's going to whenever it drops the blade. I think that's what it's doing to keep it from doing like overboost maybe. So I unplugged this solenoid with the hoses still connected this weekend and drove it, and then it seemed like a lot of the pulsations were gone. It had a lot less power, because it's probably just on the wastegate spring, I'm guessing, or however direction this is by default or something. So it probably, I guess, pushes straight through, I'm guessing. Okay, underneath the car here, it's a little fun. So that is, it's right up here. This is the Wastegate Solenoid boost controller, whatever you want to call it, right here. The hose on the Wastegate actuator. This one over here on the, it's actually not the charge pipe, but this one goes to the atmospheric one, the inlet to the turbo. This one on this side, the left, remember that left goes on the charge pipe, which is right here. So it's got a little bit of oil and everything. It's starting to just seep a little bit. I'm hoping all these hoses are still good. I haven't seen any, so this is the one I mended. With some coupler hoses I had, and then this exhaust pipe I cut, welded to make it a sharper turn. Get that flashlight out of here. Of course, anytime you're working on something on the backside of the engine, you always want to take off this cowl piece, because it actually gives you quite a bit of room back here. See all that? There's the, turn the light on. There's the turbocharger wastegate actuator. And right there's the controller we just put on. Almost could have done it from right here as well as underneath. So I've seen imports and stuff like those older Chrysler / Mitsubishis. I mean, those used to be way harder to get back there. You know, they have a lot less parts than this. So this just bolts on 4 10mm. I just kind of put it back on just long enough to hold the brake reservoir when I do test drives, before I put everything back together. Okay, before I delete some of this stuff, this is some of the things that were in here before. Now, we did just pull the battery for a while and put it back on, but still had this stored in there, just like your freeze frame. P2019 engine overspeed condition. Yeah, it's got a, oops. Can't scroll that way, but anyway, I think that's all it has. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is from me unplugging that. We got a P02462 turbocharger wastegate actuator A high. I think that's just from the open circuit when I pulled the cable. off of it the other day to drive it over the weekend. And it should be, yeah, it says Monday. Well, that's now, but. The other thing I don't like is the map. Why does it show like pressure even though you'd think it should be in a vacuum? And then it's like desired pressure and the actual pressure. I mean, they're like matching, but I don't know. Weird.
You don't want the engine cover on or anything?
No. Got the codes to reset. Always have to remember the order. Tells you to like put it in high speed and the regular medium speed or whatever MS and HS means on that switch on that OBD2 interface. So alright, I'll go take it for a ride. Just put all the trim back on, engine cover. Should be good. This car is well aged now, but we just took it for a test drive and it pretty much drove normal. Don't know if it has the same power it originally had, but it was running pretty good. And so I'll take a look at the data logs, put those on the screen. By the way, just had to stop the edit because I got to go do something. But I was just laughing. This shirt I just got out to wear. This is pretty much the one you need to wear when you're working on cars like that. Boost fixes everything, or it breaks everything. Either way, it's awesome. Sometimes you don't feel that way, and sometimes you love it. So, got 4 boosted vehicles right now, which is insane. Never thought I'd ever have a boosted engine. And I've got actually 4 right now, even though all 4 are stock at this time. Done 2 boosted applications, vehicles that weren't. Nothing crazy, but just for the fun of it. But now I've been used to just having turbos. Okay, loading up some FORscan. This was the first drive right here, which is just last night. And 468 seconds, so it's like, what, like 8 minutes or so. So this is the throttle pedal, and this is the valve actuator for the throttle body. And it's no craziness, not much jerking or anything going on in here. You'll get some actuations for certain reasons, you know, and I do think they open when you let off the throttle to slow down sometimes, especially when you're using cruise control. Manifold absolute pressure. You can see now it never gets over 30. Which is about 14, a little over 14 psi absolute atmospheric. And then what's elevated over that, I never see 30, 35 like we were seeing before. So that actuator for the wastegate was probably definitely overshooting constantly. And we saw that it was going up to like 35, 35, 35, which would be about 20, 21 psi of boost pressure. So that looks pretty good there. You can see more readings, like I said, if I went down here, but I have to I hate trying to skip this thing through. It's not easy. Sometimes this thing obeys pulling it across. And there's the long drive. Long test drive. Yeah, that's the one. It's almost 4 megabytes, so that's definitely twice as long. So that's going to be about 16 minutes of driving. We didn't have any weird nonsense going on with that. I think that's all the way out 400 and something, 500 seconds. That's only showing me like half. This can't even zoom out enough on the oscilloscope to see. So I don't know how I guess it moves. Maybe. Oh, it moved all the way to the end. 9. I still can't figure out how to get this thing to move. See what it's doing. Oop. I know it's all random. If somebody knows more about FORscan in that aspect, they could tell me. So, pressure. Oh, this is a different pressure. FLPA. Go to table, FLP. Oh, it's fuel pressure sensor B. Low side, yeah. So on the oscilloscope, I'm seeing the high pressure, which is low. That looks like the low scale is 638 and the upper 2235. Obviously, when you're on boost, that pressure goes up. There's 21, 21, 21. So 2100 psi at the fuel rail. This one here is the basically the low pressure that feeds the high pressure pump. So that high pressure pump seems to be working. The daughter drove the car all the way downtown Phoenix, then came back and just met us for bowling, which was all the way to Peoria, and she said it's doing pretty good. The car's doing pretty good. So the last couple things I did help. Transmission seems to be kind of holding in there after all. So at first I kind of thought maybe that torque converter was shot, man. Thought in that fluid was black. The last video I put out showed that fluid. So anyway, I'm gonna finish this video. Hopefully this Ford Escape will live for another day, at least for a little while. My daughter was already mumbling some about wanting to get a small car payment. She's just starting, you know, college and stuff, and don't need that nonsense. And I just got myself a steep vehicle payment myself after being pissed at the Jeep and trading it in. That's another story I haven't made a video about yet. Recorded some clips, but I haven't done anything with them. So yep, so that's why I have a fourth turbocharged vehicle again, is because traded in the Jeep, which was a Hemi, which was a downgrade from the Turbo V6 F-150. It was fun vehicle, Hemi, all-wheel drive, you know, Summit, and highway speeds it took off like a ripped 8, but I think the twin turbo V6 in the F-150 is a little quicker, like 0 to 40. So now I have a Ram Rebel with a twin turbo inline 6, and it's also over 450 foot-pounds of torque. I think it's like 460 something for the standard output, and it's got 392 or whatever it is gear ratio, so it's a pretty quick truck. It's a sleeper. It might even be quicker than F-150 was from 0 to, like, you know, from at a certain part. So, and it's definitely quicker 0 to 40 than my Jeep was. So another sleeper vehicle. I love them. So, you know, with that, that's gonna do it for this video. With that, don't you guys forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and we'll catch y'all later.